one of the things you wrote down about being a good teammate is having a growth mindset. So first, I wanted you to define for us, what does that mean in terms of what you're building with athletes, a growth mindset?
Yeah. I think from a standpoint of myself, a growth mindset where I go through and like as a strength coach, you have a certain mindset of how things should be done, certain lifts, certain way you do speed work, conditioning, whatever it may be. And as a young strength coach, think you know a lot of things and you're set in your ways. And that was one of the beneficial things of working at a number of different places to see like all the different ways things can be done and how they work at different levels and they can be done well doing different things. They don't have to be done, just because someone says this or just because this is what I thought, but being able to take different things from different places and expand upon that and realize like, okay, there's more than one thing, more than one way to get this done. And then just from an athlete standpoint of, you know, kind of talked about earlier, but where I am now and where I want to be and how I kind of break this up. And when we do have athletes coming here for the first time, we sit down and we talk about training goals and makes them think about, okay, this is where, these training goals I have. I want to get faster. I want to get stronger. I want to have better agility. And then we talk about if you do these things, like you get stronger, you get faster, you have better agility. What's a goal you have for yourself in the next year, the next, year and a half in your sport? And how are these things going to help you, reach that goal? And what are the steps we're going to take to get there? It really makes them think. I think the first time a lot of them have done goal setting and broke this down into, how am I going to do these things to get me to my goal? How am I going to get stronger? How am I going to get faster? How am I going to improve my agility and how this is going to ultimately lead me to my goal of, making varsity as a freshman or being all conference, whatever it may be, and being stuck in the same mindset of this is how I did it before. This is how I'm going to continue to do it is not necessarily going to take them to where they want to be. So teaching them that is a kind of big part of what we do as well.
Also, I find like with student athletes or just people in general, it's hard to know the all-encompassing process. So if I'm walking an athlete through it, I'll just start with their mindset. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And I take a very basic tool, a SWOT analysis. And I'll say, what are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in your mindset? And then we'll go through and we'll highlight the differences. And then based on the responses, we're going to come up with some habits to work on to build their mindset. And then comes on the knowledge of their sport. Maybe you are really driven, but you don't know how to shoot left-handed or right-handed on a layup. Like, well, you're driven, but you got to learn some of the knowledge of your sport. So that could be the limiting factor. So we'll do the same thing there. And then, like, you might be driven and a great athlete, but maybe you're an asshole, right? So maybe it's a team. Maybe you're a bad teammate. That's the limiting factor. You can't work well with your teammates or the coaching staff or the support staff, GAs, family, friends, because like you're getting nowhere, Pete, traveling around from college to college if your wife wasn't supportive,
Yeah.
right? So you gotta have that teammate locked in right there. So if it's not in your head, then this leaves the body. Is it your training? Is it your nutrition or your recovery? So all three things in your head and all three things in your body, if you can go through a system like that and then point out, all right, kid, here is where we can move the needle. Like you train really hard, but you eat like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like how many kids skip breakfast? All right, that's an easy fix. Let's just start eating breakfast. But you gotta have, like, a systematic process to identify what's holding them back, and most times the kid's not gonna know because 'cause they're just not mature enough, they don't have the reps. Back to the growth mindset,